So, yeah, Jim has made up the curve, so he has your percentages and he's graded you. So yeah, but the curve, it won't start with his 100 because it's anomalous. It's actually total anomaly. Really, nobody even got close to Daniel. Yeah, I'm serious. He was sitting right next to me. So, but just to let you know, we had in the percentage of the 71 questions, we had 72%, 100%, 87%. So there was some. There's a few close ones. 70, 54%, 71%, 79%, 93, 65, 89, 80, 85, 62, 85, 68, 54, 80, 70, 85, 66, and 77. So there was quite a spread. So if you were down in there in the 65s and 62s, it's not going to be a D for you. Don't worry about that. It won't be. I thought this was a pretty tough quiz. I wouldn't do a quiz like this, nor would I call it a quiz, but it's so easy to talk bad about Jim. Who just came in? Daniel, is that you? Alex Dominguez came in. How about Daniel Delgado? No? Or Jesus? No? Okay, so we're missing Trent. I'll know him when I see him. Daniel and Jesus. Okay, but all in all, there's Trent. All in all, I thought everybody did pretty good on the test, and I found 2 questions in that last run of true and false. The key was wrong. So there's just some weirdness. I gave you guys when I hand you out your tests, I won't be handing out your tests, but I have your tests here. So I'm not sure how we're going to do that. We're going to go through the test, and if you want to pull up, hopefully you guys at home can pull up your tests and go through it with me. At some point, if you can't pull up your test, I do have copies of your test. Some of you sent me a test that I could print out and correct. Some of you, the way you sent it to me, I had to take a blank test and fill out your test. I was able to print Claire's out, but Jesus, I couldn't do it. So I will get it. The next test I give will be standardized to the point where the Zoom people will be able to get it to me one way, because this was a nightmare of epic proportions in terms of time for me. But there's that whole run of true and false questions towards the end, I think on the second to last page. There's 2 ambiguous questions in there. We're going to go over the whole thing. And I'm going to pull up the shade structure. We're going to talk a little bit about the shade structure. I want to show you, hopefully have time to show you a video of how to tie rebar. Because what I hope to do, this is my plan. It's not poured in stone, it's not set in stone. It's just a plan that is in process, right? Becoming real. So what I'd like to do is get us to do a lab, not on Tuesday night, but on a Saturday. If we can change it Tuesday night and show up one Saturday in the morning at the main campus, we'll make this form, we'll stake it, and we'll tie it to steel. Which will be, I think, a pretty good lab for you guys to do. And then those guys or whoever's going to do it will do the actual pour at some point. They may or may not do it that day. And then if that pour comes out the way it's supposed to, and if we did our work correctly in building the form, and the column bases are set dead level, which they should be, we'll be able to test that really easily. Concrete cures, as the concrete goes off. Then I'll have a lumber drop here, 6x6 posts, 6x10 beams, 2x4 rafters. Pretty much it, and 2x4 blocking, and we'll basically make it as a kit. We'll cut the post to length, we'll cut the beams to length, we'll cut the rafters to length, we'll cut the bird's mouths, we'll cut 2 shallow bird's mouths in the rafters, so we'll just lock in. We'll cut the freeze blocks, so there'll be a rafter locking the bird's mouth and a freeze block and a rafter. And if this doesn't make sense to you, I promise you it will. Okay, so let's first go over the test. So did anybody, and before we start, did anybody show up late like someone like Daniel Delgado, Jesus Zambrano. All right, let's see if I got a text from any of those people. Them people, doesn't look like it.
Hey, Rod.
Yes.
In relation to the Saturday when we're working over there,
I'm sorry.
just according, when we do the Saturday over there,
Yeah.
I TA the landscape construction class from
Yeah.
10 to 1.
10 to 1.
So, I don't know if there's
That
an
would be
overlap
No,
or,
that would be ideal.
I mean, we can get that class to help too if you want, or
That would be ideal.
just letting you know every Saturday, 10 to 1.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to help with that class.
Could everybody make a Saturday? Nobody's not making it. We're gonna make it Saturday.
Yeah, I can.
And if you can't, you can't. But if you can, I think it'll be good for everybody. Be a lot more logistics for yours truly, but it'll be. I think we can make a fun deal out of it. And when we get to it, I'll show you. I have this stuff I can put it on the board, but I have a quote which I'm going to flesh out, and I'll tell you how I'm going to flesh it out, and then we can project the plan that I did. Project the plan that I did. And you'll see it in more detail. See how I can take off. I actually did a chill list on the plan, which needs a few more things. So let's get down to the test. But before we do, as is my my nature, I got to tell you something about me. You're not going to find this game in. It's produced in '56. I think they probably made it through '60. In 1958, I was traveling with my parents from Missouri to California. I was 10 years old. We stopped, I think, in Phoenix. I don't really know, and I think my dad bought this game, not this actual game. I bought this on eBay and bid on it on eBay and got it about a week ago. My dad bought this game, I think, at a drugstore somewhere, and he came back to the motel room and started playing. And I remember going to sleep while my dad was playing this game, and in the morning, when I got up, my dad said, "Come here," sat me down, and he showed me that he worked out how to do this game. Now, this game, the whole thing, the second board, it's this is the deluxe double master set, so that when you jump, you just put it over here, so you don't have a pile of pegs to reset your board. You can just put them in this next board, so you're ready to go for the next game, right? So the object of this game is to jump a peg, right? Start out with an empty one, you jump a peg, you got a hole, right? And then you just keep jumping. And the object is to get rid of all the pegs, ideally, but one. That would be the whole object. You'd have one peg left. You'd have a last jump. And then to take it a little bit further than that, if you can get the colored peg center. So leaving one peg is out of control. Leaving one peg in the center is way up there, and leaving a colored peg in the center is, it says Einstein move on. My dad did this. I don't know if he did it. Well, I don't know if he just did it in an hour. But he figured out how to do it. And so at some point, maybe on a break, I'll sit down and I'll do it. And anybody that wants to watch can watch. And I didn't show any of you guys here. But there's the Haiku. It's a jumping game, and when I do it, if I do it, I'll pin it and show you it. Okay. Thank you. My dad was not educated. He was uneducated, but he was smart. He was really smart. Smart as a whip. Too smart for his own good. Okay. The test. Any comments about that test? Anybody want to say anything about it? Well, you have a chance?
I'm afraid for the midterm and final.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
Since that's a quiz.
just stick to the book, stick to the book and try to keep your ears open. Pretty much everybody makes it, which is really great. Everybody makes it here, so.
Wait, most of the questions were in the homework, right?
Most of the questions were from his homework, which were directly from the book. It was, read the book, look at the questions behind the book. But let's just go through this thing. But before we do, I will pass out the corrected tests here. Let's see. clear. Remember, your gray zone curve is not based on 100, even though Lewis ruined it for everybody, but he didn't really. Claudia? Michael Silva. I'll show you, I'll show you your guys, the guys on Zoom. I'll show you your tests in a minute. Let me just get these passed out. Ryan's here. Zach is here. Christian, I really like the way Christian did it. See that? He just wrote down the number of the question and the answer on one sheet of paper. So I had to print out one sheet of paper. Do you think I like printing out 7 sheets of paper or 1? Yeah, exactly. I like to print out 1 sheet of paper. Good job, Christian. Thank you for that. Of course, you missed a ton, but that's all right. I'm just pulling your leg, Christian. You did great. Brandon did good. I had to print yours out 6 or 7 pages. Connor had to print yours out 6 or 7 pages, and my computer's printing weird colors. I don't know what the heck. Adier. Wow. I mean, so he missed 2, but then I went back to those questions and realized they were wrong. The wrong answers. Actually got 100%.
Thank you, sir.
That rarely happens. Matthew? Daniel Delgado is not here. Daniel. Alex. Given this dang test, Isaac? And David Gowans, you probably second class. Yeah. Actually, very good. Okay, so has everybody in the classroom got their test back? Yes? Everybody's got their test back in the class? All right, good. Now, you guys, just to show you, Daniel, you're not there, okay? So hopefully you can pull up your test. Adair? Let me pin myself and I'll just show you the front of the test. Connor? Connor, that was a good way to do it. I only had to print out 2 for you.
What does that say at the top? Got it. Thank you.
And again, Jim will have a grade for this. And by the way, on this test and the grade and how it affects your grade, it'll be factored in as kind of after the fact. So basically, kind of how you did on the test, it'll affect your grade, but after the fact. So in other words, if you're hovering between a B and a B plus or a B and an A, something like that, you did decent on this test, and then it'll push into that next thing. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but I think I'm paraphrasing what Jim told me. Was he's going to use this test, this quiz, to just kind of determine if you go one way or the other. Brandon? Christian, the 1 sheet dude. Zach. Good score, Zach. I like the way Zach did it too. Zach did highlighted it and did it in Word. Ryan. Michael Silva. And Jesus, who's not here. Okay. Daniel and Jesus, not here. Say it again, please. Yeah. Yeah. Just wait though, okay? Just remind me. We'll do it on a break, okay? Okay, let's go, man. Let's go. Let's get this test going. So the first question, Good housekeeping on the job site includes. What's the answer? I don't think anybody missed this. I don't think anybody missed this. Look, I want to get you guys back to my gallery view. Okay, I don't think anybody missed this. Good job. And two, for safety, cutting with a circular saw, you want to drop the blade below the work. What? Yeah, I said quarter. The book says eighth, so I bought anything in eighth to a quarter. And personally, I think a quarter is a better way to go because you get a little bump on an eighth and you might not cut through that board, and you do want to cut through it. So I like a quarter, but an eighth is perfectly fine if you want to do that. I think everybody got this. Which of the following is not included in a set of house plan? Yeah, that's kind of a bonus question. Like if you missed that, you should leave now. All right, good. This one, I think pretty much everybody got. Well, somebody might have got your girlfriend's area code. I'm not sure why, where they live, because that's not a real area code. It's close to Massachusetts, but it's not Massachusetts. Now, I think everybody got that right. 3-4-5 method can be used to verify where you live, a right angle, a 45-degree angle, your girlfriend's area code. So it's obviously a right angle. 3-4-5 is how we make a right triangle. Common spacing for floor joists is 16 inches, right? Somebody wrote 24, or somebody wrote something else, but it's 16 inches. That's our spacing. It's our stud spacing. It's our floor joist spacing. It's our ceiling joist spacing. It's our rafter spacing. Now, it's not the only space. There are 2-foot centers, and there are instances where it's called out as 12-inch centers. Rarely any tighter than that, but 16 would be probably 90%. A builder's level can do what? Yeah, it doesn't tilt up and down. It does not determine plumbing. By the way, a builder's level is also called a dump level.
That doesn't make any sense.
Not a transit. I know, it makes no sense at all. A transit does go up and down. Right? It also spins 360, but you can determine angle, slope. A builder's level does not do anything but go around and give you line of sight. And it's also called a dumpy level. That was a wrong question on there, wrong answer on it. We'll get to that. But that was A, and I think pretty much everybody got it. Someone missed this, a 2x4. I'm not sure which one of you missed the 2x4, but I don't know why you missed a 2x4, because 2x4s are pretty standard, and I even had somebody go up there and measure a 2x4. They're 1.5 by 3.5. They're not 1 1/4 by 3 5/8. They're not. I think actually it was Michael Silva, but 1 1/4 by 3 1/4, and that's probably because you've been getting small 2x4s. But for purposes of this class, 2x4s are 1.5, 3.5. 2x6s are 1.5, 5.5. 2x8s are what? 2x12s. Exactly. Right? Everybody get that? Now that's dimensional lumber. Remember, and that's where we're at now. We're at the board store talking about 2x dimensional lumber, S4S. That means surfaced 4 sides. If we're talking about cabinet lumber, or some of these clear firs that we use to build windows and doors, birches, maples, cherries, walnuts, that's not a board store item. That's not sold as dimensional lumber. Who just came in? Daniel?
Daniel.
Hey, Daniel. Daniel, here's your test. Here's your test. You did really well. Too, by the way. And remember, it's grading on a curve, so that's an A for you. Okay, so just to finish this, because board store lumber, which we asked about, 2x4s, right? And that's what we're going to be forming with 2x4s. We're going to be framing with dimensional lumber, S4S, surface 4 sides. Cabinet makers, finished carpenters don't use dimensional lumber as much. They use boards that are sold as 8/4, 5/4, 6/4, 4/4. Now, a 2x is sold as 8/4, right? 8/4, which is, as we know, it's an uncommon fraction, is really 2, right? And so 8/4 rough is 2 inches. 8/4 S2S is 1 3/4. Ergo, 6/4 S2S is 1 1/4. 5/4 S2S is 1 inch. Get me? 3/4 S2S is 3/4. I'm sorry, 4/4 S2S is 3/4. Okay, so you take a 1/4 inch off, unless it's rough. And S2S means surfaced two sides. And if you're buying, I don't know, I've said this before, and it may stick. And if you're buying lumber like that, you're buying board feet and random lengths, random widths, you're going to order it S2S SLR 1E. Something you should know. S2S, that's surface two sides, SLR 1E. And that means straight line ripped one edge. So that your board from the mill, it's random on one side, but one edge is dead straight. So you can put it against the fence and start ripping parallel stock with straight edges. Okay, so when you're installing a certain new circular saw blade, what's the answer here? It's important to remember, do you need to unplug the saw, a fastening against reverse threader, the correct direction of the teeth? What? All of the above, right? All of the above. I'm sorry, say it again.
What that means.
Yeah, S2S is surface two sides. And then the SLR1E is straight line ripped, one edge. Straight line ripped.
Do you trust that edge? Or do you still
Totally trust
clear
it.
an edge?
Well, you sight it. And if it's got some wane, then you would joint it and get it flat. But typically you trust it. And you can sight it and trust your sight. So you don't just grab it and start throwing. But usually sight it, and if it's off, and then the really best way to do any kind of board is to lay it flat and then look and see if there's any space. So it makes it kind of flat on a dead flat surface. And if you set up your table saw outfeeds correctly, you will have, like our table saw outfeed is much bigger than this, and it's a bigger saw shop. You will have a flatter, fairly long flat surface. But really, I trust my eyeball. Totally trust it. Okay. Okay, so yeah, circular saw. Now, waffle face. What's the answer? E, right, a framing hammer. It refers to a framing hammer. Amongst contractors, the greatest attribute an employee can have is what? What's the answer? Ryan, what's the answer? To 10, Ryan?
How do I view my test?
You didn't do it?
No,
No,
I
you
didn't.
did it, but don't you have it? How you got it to me?
Oh yeah, here, let me go over my photos.
Yeah, you guys want to try to pull it up, but Ryan, I'll tell you your answer right now. Your answer is C, which is the right answer. Now, that's only the right answer because Jim told you. And he gave you examples of why that's right. Because really, if he hadn't said that to you in his lecture, amongst contractors, the greatest attribute an employee can have is carpentry skills. Well, that's a pretty good attribute. Dependability, that's an excellent attribute. Lots of tools, another great attribute. Respected client's property, it's kind of like, is this a trick question? Right. But Jim has real world and real life experience and examples that's what people remember, whether his guys respected their property. Now, it wasn't how dependable they were, or how good they were, or how many tools they were, but that they acted properly and appropriately with clients. Because man, the thing about building, and if you're building brand new for spec, that's a different story. That you're building it for yourself to sell it. If you're building a brand new house in a cleared lot for someone, that's a whole other story. But if you're remodeling somebody's home and they live there or move out, either way, it's a really personal thing. It's like, and if you ever experienced it, it's like coming home to a home invasion every day. It never goes away. And those people never go away. There's people that are invading your home, they're just there every day. They may even be there on the weekends. They make noise, they make dust. They talk, they might even smoke cigarettes, hopefully outside. They're in your house. They're in your house. They're like become like this instant part of your family, only you don't really want them there. You just want the work done. But you've got to have the people that do it. So your people skills, the people that you have working for you, and if you're working for somebody, your people skills are really important because that's what people remember. The thing that I like to remember is that this whole thing, yeah, we work with our hands, and we work with our minds, and we do all this figuring, right? But for the money part, it's people do business with people. Like you do business with your employer if you're working it, and he has a sense of you based on your personality and how you are, how you treat him, how you act. And the same thing goes with customers, and it goes a long way. And it's what people remember. People remember the kind of service they got. So I can do $500,000 worth of work for you, and I can do it basically perfectly, except there was a Baldwin lever that stuck, right? We wouldn't retract back up. And I was on the punch list and it never got attended to. And that's what you remember about me. You don't remember about the $500,000 worth of perfect work I did. You remember that guy did not come back and fix that doorknob. And I know that's a bit of a stretch in some ways, but I found that to be true. People remember the kind of service you got, how you treated them, if you listened to them, if you addressed their concerns, or if you just blew them out like, pshaw, that's nothing. Which you want to do some of the time. Like I jumped down with my knife and scraped some fig off this grout joint about 2 weeks ago. And I said, so this is your main complaint? And then she turned and walked out. But I know her really well, so I already have a good relationship established. Okay. Quarter inch scale refers to what? You guys got your test? What's a quarter inch scale refer to?
Ratio quarter inch equals to 1 foot.
Exactly. 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. And what's the significance of quarter scale?
The detail.
No, it's hardly ever used in details.
It's like the standard, right?
Standard for floor plans. For floor plan. Details, you're going to hopefully get a bigger scale, right? So you can show more, smaller detail. So for floor plans, which are 20 by 30, 40 by 50, things like that, quarter scale. When you get larger than getting on a 2 foot by 3 foot print, your floor plans might go to 1/8 scale. It might be a portion of the house in quarter and then another portion in quarter. But quarter scale is pretty universal for floor plans. And then what's the blank of a hammer should strike the nail head when driving a nail? The head. That's pretty. I think everybody got that right. The face. I'm sorry, not the head. The face. The face of the hammer. Some people on 13 answered 120. Some of you answered 120. That's too much pressure. You don't want to crank your pressure on your volume tank to about 100, really. And 90 is proper. So that's the answer is 90. 120 is too much. I would have bought 100 if it was in there, but he's got 90 in there. And 90 is good. 90 is where you want your pressure. Okay, so a journeyman carpenter seldom needs to learn new techniques. Is that true or false?
Oh.
Totally false. A particulate mask is adequate protection when spraying paint. Okay, it's false, right? It's false because what does a particulate mask do? It's just basically this, or an N95, maybe a little thicker. It keeps particulates. But the vapors, the harmful vapors, the VOC in paint, is it off gases? And you're in a closed room without ventilation, you should be wearing a respirator for the painter. Really filtering the air, or painters that spray indoors a lot, wear hoods and sometimes breathe outside air, compressed air that they breathe, which is a good way to go. Because you really don't want to breathe that stuff. And a particulate mask is not adequate protection. How about never place tools on the edge of scaffolds, step ladders, windowsills, or any surface they might be knocked off? That's totally common sense, right? True on that one. Heavy load should be lifted by bending your knees, lifting with your legs. Another true, right? nominal lumber size, 5/4 and 1/4 are the same. Is that true? Yeah, it's true. It's true. In nominal lumber size. But what if I said 5/4 S2S? What would that thickness be? 5/4 S2S mahogany. What would that? What thickness?
1 inch.
Exactly. It would be 1 inch. So the vernacular, like we want to learn some vernacular, right? This has carpentry, construction has its own lingo. And so it's can be sometimes confusing, but what the real thickness of something, if you state a thickness followed by net, then that's what it is. So if you say 4/4 net, you don't have to say anything else. That means 1 inch net. That means that's what you want it to net out at. So if you're talking about buying 5/4 stock, the net's at 4/4, be specific. I want 5/4 S2S net 1 inch. Okay. And probably the most common thing you're going to find that is actually what I just called out are stair treads. Clear fir stair treads that have a nosing, they're rounded. Red oak stair treads, white oak stair treads, all made. You can buy them in good board stores, already made up, and they're sold like that. And they're 5/4 S2S or 4/4 net, 1 inch thick stair treads. You want to know the difference. You can tell. You can tell. So a steel plumb bob point is always precisely below from which it hangs. Precisely below the point. Is that true or false? Absolutely true. There's just no way it can be false, right? No way. A plumb bob, by its nature, when it stops moving, it stops, and that plumb bob is plumb. It's a straight, exact vertical line. And if we get to finished carpentry, I'll show you a really cool way to hang a jamb with a plumb bob and a piece of MDF. And just throw the levels away. They're just useless. What does CMU stand for? In cold climates, the footing should be located above the frost line so that freezing can be avoided. That's patently false. The footings have to be X depth based on what the engineer says, regardless of what the frost line is doing. Okay, on to 22. We're wailing along here. We're really moving. So units such as open truss joists, wood I-beams, TGIs, which are truss joists. Truss joists, what's the I for? Truss joist I-beams with there because they're I-shaped. And laminated veneer lumber, LVL, are collectively known as what? Yeah, they're engineered lumber, So LVL means laminated veneer lumber, laminated veneer lumber, LVL, laminated veneer lumber. And it's engineered. I think everybody got that. Everybody got the following cannot be determined from an elevation drawing. You can definitely determine floor level, window and door height. You can determine roof slope, but you can't determine the roof size. You have no way from an elevation drawing. So D is what can't be done. Now, these guys here, a saw used for finishing work should have fewer teeth per inch. True or false? Absolutely false. A plumb bob can be used to establish a vertical line. That is so true. A nail set can be used to drill holes for casing or finish nails. Yeah, that's false. And that's a tricky question because a nail set is used for casing and setting finish nails. It's just not used to drill holes. So he threw that one in there. That was a little bit tricky. You had to read the whole question. What about sizes of Phillips head screwdrivers? It range from number 0 to number 4, with 4 being the smallest. Is that true? It's definitely false. The ripping claw hammer has a straight claw. True enough. Lignan is a brand name for carpenter's wood glue. Absolutely. And if you looked in your book to that handy table, you realize that a 7D nail is 2 1/4, right? And stop me at any time if you have any questions or if you think you got it marked wrong and it should have been right. Okay, so a plot or site plan. So some of you missed this. I think probably about half or 2/3 got it, but a plot or site plan indicates the location of the structure and the distances from it to the property line. I would bring out that plan for you, but I'm too lazy to go to the car, so. It's a plot plan or site plan. That's the plan we're looking for. That's the words we're looking for, plot or site. That's where you see the property lines, the big picture, driveway, landscaping. And then, now, I think I gave everybody this right, whether they got it right or not. And if I didn't give it to you right, let me know. And we could change that. And the reason why, the answer is benchmark, but it's not 2 words. And so this question with 2 separate lines to write on would indicate it's a 2-word answer. It's not a 2-word answer. Benchmark is 1 word. It's splitting hairs, but I tried to give that to everybody, whether they got it or not. And then diameter, I think everybody got that. Portable circular saw is determined by the diameter of the largest blade it will use, right? All right, so 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, all true or false? They're all false. Every single one of them. And Claire got every single one of them right. And now my key initially had true for 37, I think, yeah, and true for 38. So another name for a control point is datum. That's not true. Not true at all. So we look at the book, datum is a separate thing, and I can explain it if you want. And if you want, I will, but I'm not going to right now, unless somebody wants to. And then another name for a transit is a dumpy level. That's absolutely not true. Jim actually thought that was true, but it's one of those weird vernacular things. A builder's level is also known as a dumpy level, not a transit. Transit and builder levels are distinctly different. Builder's levels don't go like that. Transits do. Builder's levels are also dumpy levels. How did you know all those things, Claire? The book, exactly. She read the book. Foundation should extend about 6 inches above finished grade. And 6 inches is the number period. 6 inches, and that's also code. 6 inches. And then a Simpson HC connector used to tie the wall framing to the foundation. Absolutely true. I think pretty much everybody got that. Everybody got 1 quadrant equals 90 degrees. Why would a quadrant equal 90 degrees?
Quad is like a 4.
Quad,
So 3 degrees.
4 and 360 degrees in a circle. 4 and 360 is 90. Exactly. Excellent. The operation principle of a leveling instrument is that blank, blank, blank is always a straight line. What is it? Line of sight. So that's the whole principle in a leveling instrument is the line of sight. Just straight as it doesn't do this. It doesn't bend. It doesn't break like a nice uphill breaking putt dropping into the cup right in the middle of that sound. It's not that. That's true. So after you lay out your batter boards and you set your strings, what do you do then? After you laid out your, what do you guys do? After you lay out and set your batter boards and your strings, you find out if it's square, right? You cross measure. Cross measure or measure the diagonals. That will tell you whether it's square or not. And if you laid it out with a 3, 4, 5 triangle at every corner, it should measure dead square. If it didn't, then you messed something up with your 4 corners, and you got to figure it out because you need to be square. Because if your foundation is out of square, if your form is out of square, which translates to your concrete being poured out of square or out of level, either one, then you're going to have to make up for it all the way, and it's a drag. So you really want to start with a good foundation, square and level foundation. So the size of the footing for a house, where do you find those at? I would have bought structural plans, but foundation plans is the answer. A lot of you got that. Some of you didn't. Everybody got lignin. Jim must have really pushed on it. I must have pushed on that one. The natural cement that holds wood cells together in a tree is called lignin. And both the depth of the excavation and the height of the foundation are established at the highest point on the perimeter of the excavation. This point is known as what? Control point. That's your control point. Control point. Deciduous trees, boards from deciduous trees are what? Hardwood, even if they're like soft, they're still called hardwood. Foundations on slopes can be what to save concrete? Yeah, the answer's stepped, right? So if you're doing a foundation, a footing, right? If you're doing a footing on a slope, it's different than doing a footing on a relatively level piece of ground, right? On a relatively level piece of ground, you dig a trench, you form. You're doing foundation walls, you stake, go across, and you pour this full concrete, right? On a rake, you dig a trench and then you form so that your footing steps, so it doesn't go. So you don't dig one trench here and the footing just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You step your footing, and you just make up for that. Say this is where your floor is, right? You have a sill plate, and there's your rim joist, right? And now your rim joist keeps going, and you just cripple up. So this becomes a cripple wall. Another plate, cripple wall, a little taller cripple wall, and you just cripple up. We'll get to that more on framing, but that's the idea of a step foundation. Stepped foundation. Okay.
Rodney, in the case of that, do you have to drive the rebar down way further?
No, when you say drive the rebar,
Or just, yeah.
no, you don't, the rebar is never driven in the ground. The rebar is suspended inside your forms. Always. You don't want the rebar touching the ground anytime. Right? You don't drive. You can hang your rebar from forms.
So in a case like that, what's keeping it from sliding down the hill?
It's all tied together. It's staked and nailed. So each one of these form boards above the trench has got a stake driven in the ground, a stake, and a duplex headed nail. It's got a head that you can pull out, and that's what keeps the forms rigid. When your forms are done right, you can walk on your forms. And then you hang your rebar from the bottom and step up, and it's all tied together.
So there's nothing on a step foundation holding the concrete into the ground.
Other than the trench.
It's just sitting on top.
It's down in a trench, and it's filled up the trench. Depends on what the engineer says. Right? The engineer will tell you exactly what that foundation needs to be, how deep the foundation needs to be, because he'll do his calculations based on a soils report, which will tell him where undisturbed soil is. That's what he's looking for. He doesn't want to go down and fill. He wants the bottom of that footing trench that I showed, the bottom of that trench, undisturbed soil. That's where your concrete goes into full rebar, and then you build on top of that. And if it's a slab on grade, you just come up above 6 inches above, and then there's your slab, and it's all filled with concrete. On a raised foundation, you do a footing stem wall all the way around, and then you hang joists, so you have a minimum of 18 inches of clearance. So if you're doing a raised foundation, we've been talking about slabs on grade, and that shade structure will be slab on grade. But if you're doing a foundation wall, here's grade, right? And you're doing a foundation wall, it's really down into it, kind of big footer like that, bars running through it, and bars running through this, going like that, and like that. That's all under grade. And this is grade, right? This baby gets stuck over And then you can do this a variety of ways. You can put a sill plate on here and then build your walls up from there, hang your joist off that sill plate. You can hang them down like that. There are a variety of ways to frame, but this joist has to have 18 inches minimum clear to the ground. That's code. That's UBC, that's IBC. You have to have 18 inches. So you usually have to over X to get that 18 inches. And I prefer a raised foundation any day over a slab on grade, personally. Why? And it costs a little bit more. Slab on grade is easier to do, takes more concrete, less wood. It's lower, it's faster. But a raised foundation, but has its limitations. You're a slab on grade. Where a raised foundation, you're up above grade. You're where the critters can't get you as easy and the water can't get you as easy. You have give on your floor. You have a wooden floor. You have some forgiveness on your floor. It's not this concrete floor. I hate concrete floor. If I'm spending a lot of time on it. And you have a place to run you can run water, you can put a forced air unit down there and run your floor ducts, because here's how forced air works. And right now, FAU, a forced air unit, is the most efficient way to heat your house because it's a closed system. Now, there are people that will argue parts of this, but they can't argue the fact that the closed system is the most efficient way to heat your house at this point. And the best way to do it is to have your forced air unit low, so you don't have to chase and bring air down. And so it has a return air grill somewhere in the middle of the house, and then every supply air register is the ducts are run under the house, and they come up and they pop up to the floor underneath a window or an inactive French door, the one that stays closed. The door closes against. Inactive French door. Come to my house and look where my registers are. Inactive French door under windows. And so what happens is that forced air unit, when you turn it on, it has gas fired, makes hot air, right? And a fan. That fan blows through the ducts and it feeds these floor registers. And heat rises naturally. So it comes up hot, and then your return air in the middle of the house is a big grill, and it's drawing. It has a fan that draws air. So it's drawing from all the exterior of the house, all the way across the house into the return air to be recycled, to have that air reburn, come back as supply air. So it's a closed system that brings hot air all over your house fast. My house heats up in 3 minutes. If it's cold, if it's 61 degrees, if it's 59 degrees in my house, I turn that thing on in 3 minutes. More. I think my job. A forced air unit? Yeah, forced air is, it's pretty much what our heaters are in everybody's house. Unless you've got a gas-fired wall heater or a direct vent heater, something like that. If you've got a gas-fired heater, you've got a forced air unit. Unless it's an old house. In an old house, you might have a gravity-fed furnace, which are pretty great, and they're based on somewhat the same principle. They have return air that draws. They have floor registers or low wall registers. They usually have a register that's in a wall, comes up low. There's a register on both sides of the wall. But the problem with gravity heaters is they have a heat exchanger, and their heat exchangers are prone to eventually cracking. And what happens is carbon monoxide, which is produced in the combustion part of this thing, gets into the ducts and it goes into the supply air, and you never wake up. You go to sleep at night with your heater on and you never wake up because you die in the middle of the night from carbon monoxide. You know, when that's the reason why we got these, you know, we're required to have carbon monoxide sensors in the hallways and stuff like that because of gravity emission. And that's the only reason. There's nothing else that produces carbon monoxide. I mean, I take it back. We produce carbon monoxide when we're in our bedrooms sleeping. Right now, I'm producing carbon monoxide. We all are producing carbon monoxide. We have fairly good ventilation. We've got a HEPA filter there. We've got some air moving. So we're not feeling the effects of it. But in your bedroom, with the windows closed and the doors closed, you see they test the carbon monoxide levels go they go sky high. So it's always better to sleep with your door open and your window open and getting air. Unless you have a high HRV or ERV, which is high recovery ventilation or energy recovery ventilation, which I've just mentioned, where you're bringing fresh air all the time. You're doing air changes, which is a really good thing. We're not there yet. So I know I just deviated like crazy. And I'm going to do board feet and then we're going to take a break. So somebody, Jesus, say, Jesus, did you show up? No? Did you show up here, Jesus? Jesus had 756. I think, Claire, I think you got it right. Okay, so let's do that board foot problem because it's kind of, it wasn't the easiest board foot problem, but board feet is pretty important really because once you understand it, it's how lumber is sold. It's sold by the mill board foot, 1,000 board foot, but forget the mill board feet, just call it board feet. So let's find out how many board feet are in this this piece of mahogany. So it's just a single piece of mahogany. And it's wow, it's an 8 inches thick, right? It's 9'6" long, 9'6" long, and it's 16 inches wide. That's a hefty board right there. So you want to know what that board is going to cost, right? Because you know, and this is taking it a step further, but this will be on the midterm, I bet you. Let's say you know that mahogany right now is costing you like genuine mahogany in that size, probably costing you $9,500 per MBF. What does that mean? It means mill board foot, which is 1,000 board foot. So $9,500 per 1,000 board feet. Now, a mill, right, is 1,000. So if you want to know how much a board foot is, you're just going to take that decimal point and move it 3 places, because that's what 1,000 is, right? There's ones, tens, thousands. Ones, tens, thousands. So move it to there, and what you got is $9.50 per board feet. So you know that mahogany is almost $10 a board foot. How much board foot is going to be in this massive piece of lumber that you're going to use for a mantle or something, right? It's 8 by 16 by 9'6". All right. So the simple formula, we won't do it the way I do it. We'll do it the simple formula. We'll do 8 in inches, thickness in inches, times width in inches, 16, times times feet, right? Which is 9.5. Now it's 9.5 feet. 9'6" is best represented in a decimal is 9.5, because 6 inches is a half of a foot, right? 6/12. We want to reduce that fraction. 3 goes into 6. I'm sorry, 6 goes into 6 one time, right? It's a half. And a half is a decimal. To make it a decimal, 2 divided into 1 equals 0.5. So it's times 9.5. So 8 times 16 is 128 times 95. I'm sorry, times 9.5. All right, 128 times 128 times 9.5. Right. So the answer to this quotient is 1,216. Of course, everything's over 12, right? So divided by 12 equals 101.3. 101 board feet. Okay, see it? How it worked? Now here's how I do that in my head. I'd go 8 times 16 is 128. And I do that in my head because 8 times 10 is 80, 8 times 6 is 48, 80 and 48 is 128. I can keep those numbers in my head. At 128 over 12, well, 12 times 10, right, is 120. So I know that's 10 with a leftover of 8. 8 over 12 is 2/3. So it's 10 and 2/3. Or 10 and 2/3. As a decimal, that's 10.666 per running foot. So then I'm just going to do that 10 and 2/3 times 9.5. It's pretty easy math, right? And you get the same number. Regardless how you get this number, the number you want is 101.33. And what he didn't ask you to do is tell us how much it's going to cost. If it's going to be 9,500 for 1,000 board feet. So at 101, let's say we're going to get 101.33, and we're going to do it times 950. Let's see how much that board costs, and that's a real number. So that 9,500, 1,000. So we got 101.33 times 950 equals times 8.75 equals plus. Okay, so 101.33, oops, I didn't clear something. 101.33 times 9.5 equals. So it's, that's it.
Close to 1,000.
Well, and then add tax times 108.75% is $1,046.87. That board costs almost $1,500. That's thick. Now remember, that's a piece of genuine mahogany. It's a big, thick piece. That's an 8x16. That's a monster. That's taking a big chunk out of a tree. I mean, really get a sense of this. The length is not that much, right? It's less than 10 feet. It's not a huge board. It's that long, but it's that thick. That wide. It's a monster. $1,000 board. If that were fir, it'd just be half that. Fir is now going for, what'd that quote come out? So I got for the shade structure, I had him quote DF number 1, select exposed FOHC. Does anybody know what that means? Anybody at all? Say again? Okay, so I'm going to tell everybody what that means. What the stuff I ordered for that. I ordered DF number 1. Doug fir number 1. That's the highest grade of construction grades. Hand selected and stamped. Number 1. SE select exposed. Another visual inspection. It's going to have square edges, not rounded edges, because I want it select exposed, and it's going to be FOHC. FOHC, which is free of heart center. The heart of a tree is pithy. It's prone to being soft and having checks and off color and wane. So you want it free of heart center. You want to get it out towards the end of towards the edge of the tree, away from the heart. So the best material I can order, which is going to cost the most, but it's going to last the longest, it's going to be the straightest and truest, is going to be FOHC. So that's not bad. That's not bad. So 33.50 1,000. So if we were getting this in fir and that designation I just said, select exposed DF number 1, 33.50 1,000. That would be what's a board? How much does a board foot cost when the lumber costs $3,350 per 1,000? 335 exactly. Damn it. Good job. 101.33 times 3.35 equals times 108.75 to have a tax equals $36,000. 33 times 3.25 equals, okay, it's a $339, $340 board times 108.75% equals. So it's $370 board. So infer this is $370. And that's at 33.50 per MBF, which equals $3.35, right? We just took the decimal one, 2, 3 points, $3.03. Easy. And that's just how it shows up on my quote. Unit price. I want to put this on the board too. $33.50. It doesn't say $3.35 a board foot. It says $33.50. $33.50. See that? So if you don't know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about MBF, you're gonna go, what? How does that work? So you know, right? All of your board stores, all of your quotes, all those guys are dealing in mill board foot. And you need to translate that to board foot, not thousand. That's how you do it. You just move the decimal 3 points.
How different is that from 6 years ago when you sold your company?
Okay, so that is triple. And the 2x4s, 2x4s used to be 405 1,000, are now 2150.
Wow.
That's 5 times. So 2x4s from 6 years ago are 5 times more expensive. And the board and the larger beams in this particular case are 3 times more expensive. Take a break. Geez, I've gone at it hard. Take a break until 7:30. Okay, come back at 7:30. Go take a nap or something. All right, you guys. Yeah. But wake up at 7:30. Set your alarm. Zoom. All right, so most people miss this, but not everybody. What's the minimum size and type of foundation bolt in Santa Barbara? It is 5/8 by 10. Now, that's gotta have 4 inches of penetration, 6 inches of penetration, 7 inches of penetration. That's what it is. It's 7 inches of penetration is what it's gotta have. So it's gotta penetrate down in your slab 7 inches, and then it sticks up 3 inches. And that 3 inches would be for your 2x plate, a washer, and a nut. And not, and then you can cut them off from there, but there's no reason because they're in the wall, right? But that's a 7-inch embedment. So you need a 5/8 bolt. That's the size of anchor bolts. There are no more 1/2-inch anchor bolts. If you're in Santa Barbara and you're pouring a foundation, your anchor bolts have to be galvanized, 5/8 inches in diameter, and a minimum 10 inches. They can be longer than 10 inches. You can stab them further down, but you need a 10-inch bolt. That's Santa Barbara standard foundation bolt. And
Hey,
a
Rod.
standard, yes,
Oh, it was me and Michael.
Mike.
What was 53 again? I missed it.
53 is aspen.
Aspen? Okay, thank you.
Aspen trees. And you know the really cool thing about aspen trees? Who knows? The really interesting factoid about aspens. Yes, isn't that incredible? You look at an aspen grove, right? I mean, there are aspen groves and just pick Colorado, for instance, that are huge. As big as this parking lot. They're one tree. They're one organism. They're all part of one organism. Isn't that cool? As opposed to sequoias, firs, pine, those are individual trees. You can have a pine here and a pine here and a pine here. There's 3 pines. If you have 3 aspens, they're all one aspen. They share the same root system.
Rodney,
They grow fast, really fast. It's a sustainable wood, and they don't use it for anything but OSB. Because, OSB is they just grind it up and mix it with a bunch of glue and stuff and put strands in it, and they put it all together, they liquid, and then they dry it, and then they press it real tight, and it's relatively cheap board that you can sheet roofs and sheet houses, and you never expose it because it's pretty ugly.
Rodney,
Yes.
doesn't the answer to 53 depend on your geography?
Well, you'd think so, probably, but I don't think there's OSB over the pond, across the pond.
No, I mean even within domestically.
No.
According to the book, it said that in the South, it's apparently in the North, it's aspen poplar, and then in the South, it's southern yellow pine.
Oh, okay, so that's in the book?
Yeah.
Did anybody get that wrong to put any of those answers? Because if you did, you should get that one right. Okay, well, thanks for clarifying that. I appreciate that. Because I didn't know. I just saw the answer and I was great. Oh, that's such a cool tree too. The washers, this is new. This is not, this is just come out like last couple of years. They gotta be 3 by 3 and they gotta be a 1/4 inch thick. It's actually 0.219. We call it a 1/4 inch. It's actually 3 inches by 3 inches by 2.19 thick. 0.219. 0.25 is a 1/4, so call it a 1/4. They got to be a 1/4 thick, and they've got to be 3 by 3. Those are your foundation washers. Now, HDs, the connectors that connect to the studs or posts, and the bolts go down in the foundation, and all the anchor bolts, the foundation bolts, your plates that are the bottom parts of your walls are all cranked down with. That's to tie the house to the foundation, so that if you get a good shake, your house doesn't shake off your foundation. But if you get a good enough shake, it isn't going to matter anyway. The foundation's the whole thing's going to go. But up to a certain point, it will keep your house on the foundation. And that's a good thing. But we sure jump through a lot of hoops to make that happen for earthquakes that we haven't had yet, but we certainly might. We're in a place that gets earthquakes. We're near fault lines. So a laser level transmits a laser beam of light for a full. Exactly. I don't think anybody missed this. A few people missed 57. As construction progresses, periodic inspections are made. Inspections. Some people put permits. That doesn't make any sense. Periodic permits are made. It's inspections, okay? Inspections. So hopefully you guys that I'll have to talk to Jim about your grades, because he's going to grade you based on the curve and the percentages that I gave him. But if you want to contact me individually, if you're interested in your test, I can figure out a way to get you your test. I'm not sure how yet, but if you really want to get it, I got everybody there. I got your tests right here. Some of them I had to print out. Some of them I had to fill out myself. So the best fire extinguisher for your home is what? What class? ABC. And I'm not sure where that comes from, truthfully. I didn't find it in the book. That's Jim's question. That thing does say ABC over there, right? That fire extinguisher right there says ABC. A lot of you missed it, put A's, B's, I'm sorry.
I thought you had to pick one.
Yeah, and I thought so too, and I think that's kind of a dick question. Yeah. So if you missed it and you had A, B, and C are not good answers, by the way. I wouldn't even consider giving you those right, because they're not good. They're not good fire extinguishers for the home. A is, ABC is. So if you answered A and you got it wrong, you can see me after, and I'll correct it and I'll get you graded. Get you up about a percent point. That's what it comes up. So in safety meetings, I don't know if any of you went back to the safety meetings and in the Canvas tab and found those safety meetings because they came right from there and they're pretty much verbatim. You know, there's a list of machines you should not wear gloves in, and grinders was one of them. And routers, surface planners, and laser levels were not on that list. So just to clarify, on the safety meeting questions, the questions are going to be right from that safety meeting that we did, which I didn't do today, which I was supposed to do. I think I'll still do a safety meeting after this. They're right from that. And so even though some of these, like, you probably wouldn't wear gloves routing, you might wear them certainly with surface players. There's none of these that would not, but there will be, I will pick an answer that's specific to those sheets. So you need to refer to the sheets. Like I would answer it in common sense and then check your answer. Find it on the sheets because they're not that long and you can find them. Oh crap, I already did wood framing. Okay, so we're not going to do that again today. So when framing with a pneumatic gun, nail gun, a safety hazard to remember is, what is it? Yeah, never use a tool without compressed air. That doesn't mean anything. Always crank your compressor up to 150. Is that a good idea? What should you crank your compressor up to? Exactly. And then keep it plugged into air sources at all times, whether you're using it or not. No, it's a bad idea. But do wear gloves and knife grip. And then power tool safety, common protective gear includes gloves, eye protection, and hearing protection. Is that true or false? And how about bandsaw safety? When making tight curves, it's best not to make release cuts. Is that true or false? Yeah. Do you guys know what a relief cut is? Did I draw that for you on a curve? Everybody there? Anybody need that clarified? A relief cut? Okay. Yes. A relief cut, just quickly. You're cutting a circle, or I'm sorry, if you're cutting a curve, and the tighter the curve, the more you need a relief cut. But let's say you're cutting a board. You want to cut that out. You want to run it through the bandsaw like that. Now that's a fairly tight cut. So you might want to cut in to your line in a few places. These are called relief cuts. So you cut in, stop the saw, back it out of the cut, start the saw, cut in, stop the saw, back it out of the cut. Don't pull the board out of the cut while the bandsaw is running. Always stop the bandsaw. And then once your relief cuts are made, then you start cutting. Now you don't have to get your bandsaw really tight into these curves because when you get to here, this piece is going to fall off. When you get to here and start making that curve, that piece is going to fall off. So now the pressure on the back of that blade to make the curve is not there anymore. You've done a relief. You relieved it. Same thing. Boom, falls off. Boom, falls off. Right? Relief cuts. Tight curves. Make relief cuts. Make it simpler for you. Because it's really a bummer to go get too tight of a curve and you can't just make it. The bandsaw stops. It sucks. Relief cuts. I have to show you that actually. 62, we're getting there, man. We're getting there. Was this a quiz?
Yeah.
God, it feels like my whole life. My whole life passed before my eyes. I even drank a Dr. Pepper. I've had a soft drink in probably 25 years. Wow. Let's see what people just like crack. See people strung out like 3 Diet Cokes before noon, right?
Yeah.
2 6-packs of Diet Cokes a day. I know somebody that does it.
Do they not drink water?
No, they don't. They drink Diet Coke. People that are strung out on Diet Coke are strung out. It's bad.
That's really bad.
Really bad stuff. So the circular saw safety in preparing to make a cut. Peg the guard with a broken off shim. I already told you guys it's a bad idea, and I'm sure you figured that out yourself. Make sure your watch band is tight and your necklace is inside your shirt. That's a good idea, but that's not what was on that safety thing. drop the blade to cut an inch deeper, we already know that's bogus. So it only leaves support the surface being cut, which is reasonable, so you probably got that whether you looked at that or not, even though some people got C, because it's reasonable. So plumbers are one of the lowest paid construction workers, is that true? It's really not, plumbers are highly paid. So, plumbers have kind of a bad rap. Oh, by the way, that thing I said about painters about a month ago, I am so sorry about that. Painters are not scum of the earth. Painters are great. Painters are an integral part of the process. And painters, without painters, so I told you this, right? Painters caulk and paint make a carpenter what he ain't. So we love painters. So I take that all back. Painters are the greatest. You just no, I didn't get trouble. I just thought that was a stupid thing to say. Part of where it comes from is when my parents were divorced when I was 13 or 14, I guess. My parents divorced, and then the first guy that my mom brought home was a painter. Yeah, and his name was Dick. Oh, I was so bad I would go, "Hey, Dick. How's it going, Dick?" Oh, I was bad, man. I hated his guts.
Did he deserve it or?
No, he just wasn't my dad. He was probably a nice guy. But painters drink too. You're not a drunk, right? No, just kidding. But back then, the VOC was a lot worse. There was lead in paint and painters that breathed up fumes all day. It seemed like most painters were drunks. Just, I don't know. Most of the painters I know aren't drunks, so it's probably different. All right, so on a set of plans, it's always best to build from the plan's call out rather than from the scaling of the plan. Is that true or false? So, and you know what I mean by that, right? You want to look for the call out. That means the written dimension on the plans. That's what you want to use is the written dimension. Even though it's to scale, and you could scale it, and in some cases, if you can't find a dimension anywhere, you can go ahead and scale it, but you should look for the call out. Use the call out. Plans, all plans say do not scale plans. Which is the easiest to see outdoors with structural measures? Red or green? Green. And we demonstrated that here. And then to find the roof slope on a set of plans, where do we look? That will give you the roof slope. The plot plan, the floor plan, it's not going to give you that. The section might give it, if you get a whole section to the house, any section drawings very well may give that, probably will give that. But an elevation should show you the pitch of the roof. You should have this symbol on any elevation. Should show you that. Anyway, it should show you the like 6. So 6 inches of rise for every 12 inches of run would be a relatively steep roof. It's 50% grade. Okay, now this guy, I don't know this. I will never give you a question like this. So the magic number is 26. The magic number is 26. Yes.
We wrote something on that, but I'm not sure what it says.
What do you think it says?
Excellent.
Yeah, it's excellent. XLNT. That's short for excellent. You got it right, right? Yeah. Everybody that got it right, I usually wrote excellent on it. So, and some of you that kind of switched numbers, I didn't mark it wrong. One of you got just one wrong. This is worth 4. And the answers were A, B, C, and D, not the magic number. It should have been worth 5, really, if I'd been thinking about it. Because the magic number is 6 inches. So 6 inches is your height above grade. So when you shoot and this string is at 32, your finished slab is going to be 6 inches. So you got to take the 6 inches from the 32. And that's your magic number, 26. Because then all those other shots at dead level, the grade, you need to measure 26 inches down. So it's simple. You go to A, corner, you measure 26 inches down. The answer is 6, 26 from 32. Go to B, 26 from 38 is 12. 26 from 47 is 21, and 26 from 49 is 23. It's simple. Simple math. You just gotta get that magic number right. And the magic number is 6 inches from the, which would be the low point. Which would be the high point. High point. And being the high point, you've got to have 6 inches minimum, right? On grade. So what you don't want to do is start at the low point of 6 inches and then go up to the high point and have the difference be, so now your slab's like, 2 inches above grade. So you got to start at the high point, have a 6 inch slab, and then as it goes down, you're going to have more slab. 6 inches is the minimum. Just like when I showed you the balusters, some of you I showed in the calculating and measuring class. You got to start at the high point because minimums are important. Illustration I really like is that just picture this whole wall and a 36-inch high kitchen cabinet run. It's whatever this is, 30 feet to run, and it's. And if we throw our laser over there to here, it falls downhill 2 inches. From that side to that side. Where do we start setting our cabinets at 36? That side. Because they're minimum 36. And as they go downhill, the kick will go from 6 inches to 8 inches. Cabinets will be the same. There'll be a 30-inch box sitting dead level all the way across. And the kick will look like this. It'll follow the floor and it'll be dead level. And the cabinet sitting on it will be dead level. And you'll have your minimum 36. Now the 36 minimum is for a variety of reasons. One is it's been established as countertop working height. We like it, although some people like 38. I like my counters a little higher, but you need 34 and a half to get your dishwasher. If you come down with a low counter, you might not be able to get your dishwasher. That's not good. They have some adjustment, usually go up, but cranked all the way down, they're supposed to fit in a 34 and a half inch opening, with an inch and a half top, finishing 36. Dishwasher is really kind of the control point. Stuff like that. And if you're higher, fine. You can put a filler in on top. Like my counters are probably 38. I have a filler above my dishwasher. And it looks great. I like it. And I'm tall. My wife has to stand on a stool. Not really. She doesn't really have to stand on a stool. Okay, so any questions about this test? No questions? Not one question.
There
Okay.
was one question.
Far away.
46.
46.
It's marked like there's a correction on it, but it's not marked as wrong.
Yeah.
But point instead of control point.
Yeah, I just like the fact that you had point on there. I figured you knew what was happening. So some of that stuff I made a comment on. Yeah, so you should get that right. So just bring that, if you put A for the fire extinguisher and I mark it wrong, see me after. I'll change it on your test with means nothing, but I'll change it on my stuff and then I'll make sure Jim knows that it got changed too. Did you come up with some kind of a curve, Jim?
What's that?
Did you come up with some kind of a curve yet? Okay. But I told him that because Lewis was 100%, that his was an anomalous 100%. So you might just throw that out and come down.
How about we just throw him out?
Yeah, that too. That's it. We could bury him under that slab. Nobody would ever know.
Good job.
Yeah, excellent job. Yeah, so these guys did, they all did pretty darn good. Right? We were just talking about some of the stuff like the ABC on the fire extinguisher. At this point, if they got A on there, I'm going to give them the number. But if you got B or C, forget it. ABC works or A, and then you're going to come up after.
Yeah, typically we, on a job site, you're not gonna be dealing with the D
Right.
fire extinguisher
Right.
because that's for metals that burn, like magnesium or something like that. So you're not typically gonna run into that. So typically you want one that will put out wood, fire, electrical, and gasoline or fuel. So ABC is typically what we have on a job site. except for Rodney, and he has a D there, if he thinks.
D for Donald. And you guys watch BMF on the Stars? Ever watch it? Oh my gosh. It's black gangsters and
I gotta ask for you.
where in Detroit.
My hometown.
Is that where you're born? I was born 40 miles from there. In Toledo.
Oh, in Toledo, yeah.
And my mom lived right on Lake Erie, and she was born.
So I grew up in Detroit. We used to, when I turned 18, they had 18-year-old drinking in
Yeah.
Toledo with 3-2 beers. So we'd get a carload of us. Toledo.
You didn't just go to Windsor? Because in Windsor, you could, I think it was 18 to drink in Windsor too. Isn't
Yeah, we had to pay to go through the
Oh,
tunnel
right,
over the
right.
bridge, so.
it? Yeah, the stuff we used to do is you're at your age, but now
We'd always go.
you guys could just call up the weed store and get it delivered. And Bevmo, right? Bevmo and Canopy. Let's go.
So everything was good on the test.
Yeah, everybody took the test. Everybody here took the test? Everybody here took the test. Everybody at home. took
Nice.
the test. Yeah, they all took the test. I got them all right here. I showed them what their grades are, but you'll figure out.
I'll
the
prove it, yeah.
And I'm gonna make just a couple of changes and I'll scan and send you the brand new one, which has got Claire's and Jesus's test that I just corrected.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Mark. You're welcome to come tomorrow night.
Yeah, so it's face
I
to
was gonna go over
face.
the test, but you don't have to come tomorrow night. You can do it online, but I was gonna go over the test. Rodney did it instead. So what I'm gonna do is I'm maybe gonna follow up a little bit on chapter 9, but I'm probably gonna start delving into chapter 10.
And 10, what's 10?
Start with floor framing.
Okay, and then in the next couple of weeks, I gotta figure the Saturday. I think we're gonna switch a Tuesday night for a Saturday and form and tie steel over at the college.
Awesome. I'm not coming to that.
Yeah, I'll get a couple of drops. I'll get a drop here for the structure and I'll get a drop there for the steel and the plumbing stuff and concrete. You'll have the mixer.
Let me
there,
know when that's gonna happen.
And the roofing probably over there too, huh?
And we'll drop the roofing there too. Good idea. Yeah.
Hey, Rod, I have a all day geology class on Saturdays.
Every Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the cool part of that is it at the main campus?
No, it's off campus.
Oh, crap. Okay.
How do they get to go off campus? We do.
Yeah, what's up with that? Okay, just keep in touch with me, Connor, and we'll make that.
All right, no worries, Rod. Thank you.
For sure. For sure. Okay, so we're going to do shade structure next. Oh, actually. we're gonna do some-
Okay.
Jim,
See you
see you later,
tomorrow.
man. Drive safe. Drive safely and see everybody tomorrow.
Is that Saturday gonna be this month?
Say it again.
Is that Saturday gonna be this month?
See ya.
We gotta sit down. Take a minute to get everything on that new quote. Figure out the 2 drops and then figure out the logistics of the whole day, including.
I'm not gonna be here the last 2 Saturdays this month.
October. Okay. Including, I'm gonna probably get somebody from Kitty Construction that lives in reuse farming. Steel. Pam, come. It's the way to go, man. I'm telling you. I can form, I can drive stakes. I can lay out battery boards, I can tie steel, I can do all of it. Much rather pay somebody that does it, they're sleep. And then we can really see how a pro does it. And that's kind of what I've had done in some other labs. We've done plumbing labs, copper sweating. And some other stuff. Get someone who does that. Like I had a plumber here that sweats copper and sleep. So, copper piping is how our water is run, right? All our water piping is done in copper. It's not done in galvanized. It used to be done in galvanized pipe, 1/2-inch galvanized pipe. And if you didn't replace the 1/2-inch galvanized pipe in your house after about 20, 30 years into 40, that 1/2 inch diameter, ID inside diameter, usually got to about like that, just corroded. So so galvanized water lines have been phased out, and now it's all copper and PEX, of course, which is a polypro. Which is okay for some, like my trailer is done in PEX, tiny house will be done in PEX, but most houses are done in copper, and copper joints, because copper pipe comes in 20 foot sticks and has elbows and 8 bends and quarter bends and Santees has all kinds of fittings. Those fittings are typically sweated. It's a soldered fitting. The flux and solder all the way around the joint, heated with solder, and there's an art to it. You get your solder to go all the way around and be a clean joint. There's a thing called ProPress. It's been out 10 years, and it's really cool for a large pipe. The sweating like 1.5 inch, 2 inch diameter copper pipe for big buildings is really a bear to get that copper on, keep it hot all around. So they developed this ProPress, and they have bits for big pipe and all the way down to small pipe, to 1/2 inch copper. And they have fittings that you slide the jaws over, compress the jaws. It's battery operated, and it puts a whole lot of force on it, and it crimps the fitting. No solder, and it has a rubber over it. And it's way faster and way cleaner. Problem is, it's about $4,000 just to get the tool and a few bits. Whereas, a propane torch and flux is going to cost you about $50 to sweat copper. And the fittings are cheaper. So the old time plumbers, nope, we sweat copper. The newer plumbers like the ProPress. And the thing about the ProPress is you can do really big pipe really fast. The jaws are expensive to sell. And you can also do pipe in really tight situations where if you're sweating, you might be burning wallboard or something around.
Why do they use plastic under sinks for all the exposed plumbing?
You mean like PEX?
Yeah.
Well, generally under sink, what you should see for supply lines under sink is a woven stainless steel braided supply line hose. That's what you should see. But you also might see a polyethylene, just because they're flexible as hell. Right?
I meant the actual, like, the drainage.
Oh,
from the
that,
sinks
you
and
mean the drains?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not supply. So water supply is under pressure. It's always under pressure. Drain waste, there's no pressure. So you don't have to have the same kind of joints of the pipes, but also all waste is ABS, just plastic. You don't use copper. You can use lead for waste, cast iron, not lead. Commercial buildings use a 4, 5, and 6 inch cast iron fitting. But generally, all our houses, all our residential waste is a 4 inch ABS is your main waste. And then your shower drains, 2 inch ABS. Your vanity might be 1.5 inch ABS. Your everything. So we haven't got to plumbing yet. I don't know if we get to it in this 110, but there's only 4 things you'll ever need to know about plumbing. And if you know these 4 things, then you will know everything about plumbing. Did I say the 4 things? Okay. Water, waste, vent. Every plumbing fixture takes water, waste, vent, and shit rolls downhill at quarters to a foot. If you know that, you do plumbing, right? Okay. And make big bucks, right? Because it's false. The plumbers don't make good money. Plumbers make really good money. Okay, where was I? We did the test, such as it was. Went through the test. That was good. Some of you will get, a percentage point or so more for the fire extinguisher thing. I'd actually buy A. I'll buy A. Now, this shade structure, but first, I think we've done framing, pretty sure. Okay, so wood framing, crap, we did wood framing, but what we didn't do, so I put it in here again too. Wood framing 2. I don't know why I put that in there. Review, we did that. Shade structure, video on time, okay. Good. Okay, so let's do a safety meeting. Real quickly. We didn't do this last week. It's driving company vehicles when they break down. I'll read the introduction. If you drive a company vehicle, scary. Come on. Blinking. Axel, we should get the 100-hour thing any second now. You guys at home are seeing everything, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you drive a company vehicle for work, you should know the emergency steps that need to be taken in the event that an emergency happens. Employees are required to follow the appropriate steps to keep themselves safe and make sure they're able to return to work as soon as possible. Breaking down, Mike Silva.
Breaking down. If you notice that the vehicle is acting oddly, it is best to safely pull over or find a parking lot to sort the problem out before it breaks down completely. If your vehicle breaks down without warning, pull over to the shoulder or emergency lane if possible. Then proceed the following steps. Do not pull into the left-hand shoulder unless there is no other option. Turn your hazard lights on as soon as you're stop to warn other drivers to be cautious. Turn your wheel away from the road and put your emergency brake on. Do not get out of the vehicle unless you have checked that it's completely safe to do so. Get out through the passenger side door if you're parked next to a busy road or highway. Stay near your vehicle unless your engine is smoking or you see flames. Call 911 if you are hurt or not unable to pull to the side of the road. If you have flares or triangles available, set them up. One should be placed about 10 feet behind your vehicle and the other should be placed about 20 feet behind the vehicle.
200.
200. Pop your head to reduce confusion because this is the universal sign of a breakdown. Do not attempt to fix the problem by yourself if you're not sure what the problem is.
There are accidents.
Employees who are in an accident with another vehicle are advised to check yourself, passengers, and the other affected party for injuries and call 911 if necessary. Pull over to a safe location, turn your hazards on, and set your emergency brake. Set up traffic flares, cones, or triangles as previously described. Call the police even for a minor accident. Exchange insurance information with the other driver. Do not admit fault and limit your discussion to the accident to facts. Take pictures of the damage if possible.
Yeah, and just stop right there. If you get in an accident in your car or a company vehicle, take pictures. Whip out your phone and take pictures, man. It might save your life. Oh, he did this or that, or yeah, no, I go, really, because I got a picture right here. Take pictures. Evan, workplace protocol.
Once you've gone to the side of the road and performed all the above steps, you must call the appropriate person from your company to let them know what happened. Employees must know who to contact in an emergency like this. This may be a manager, assistant, or somebody else in your department. Let them know where you are and tell them exactly what happened. If you don't have it already, get the number for your employer's preferred tow company and call them as soon as the situation is stable. Follow all instructions as directed by the employer or another employee speaking on behalf of you.
And in conclusion, if you're in an accident or your vehicle breaks down while driving a company vehicle, there is a certain protocol to follow. Employee safety is the first priority in situations like this. And all safety steps are required to be followed so the problem can be solved as quickly and safely as possible. Okay. Any questions or comments on this safety topic? If driving a company vehicle, just drive safe. The first car I got that wasn't a truck that I remember after having trucks for so long. And I was going to get a car for my wife. She said, get a car for yourself. So I did. I went to Volkswagen of all places, 1999, and I bought a brand new Volkswagen Passat wagon, white, and I put these spoke wheels on it. That's 5-spoke wheels. I just love that car. It's the greatest car in the world. I had a motorcycle too. I think I had a Honda, a big V-twin 1500 or 1600 Honda. It was just this giant motorcycle. I had a Honda on Chapala. I was going to pick it up. And I went and picked it up. I left my car parked Honda, and I told my daughter Hannah, my youngest daughter, the one that's the filmmaker, I told her, go by the house, get my spare key, get yourself dropped off, pick up my car, take it home for me. She said she would. Last thing I told her on the phone was, don't crash my car. She was a teenager, so I'm sure what she heard was crash my car, which she promptly did. She T-boned a Suburban. I was so bummed. Just wrecked the car. The car was never the same after that, even after it got fixed. But anyway, so yeah, just be careful. Safety, safety, safety. Be careful when if you break down, getting out in traffic and all that jazz. So let's go to a module. Let's go to, I don't know why I've repeated these things, but here's our shade structure. Okay, so this is the final one, well, the final one so far. And I tried to get all the information on this plan that I could. I may add a couple more things, but enough to get it built. So let's look at what's on there. The size of the slab. This is a down view, right? I didn't label the views, and I probably should have put plan view up there. And I probably should have put elevation right there, and I may still. But in plan, you can see, and I also might put line of slab right here, and then put a arrow and an arrow. The slab is 15-foot slab by 6'6" slab. So that pretty much tells you the size of the slab, right? We need to know how thick that slab is and what the footings are. So let's go down and look here. Well, there's a look-see, a side view, actually from that side. I might label the view, but you can see that I want footers. I want these column bases. I didn't put them in there, did I? I got them in something else. Oh yeah, no, I didn't put them in there. Yeah, I did put them in there. I put the column caps, but I didn't put the column bases in there. I'll put the column bases in there, but I want them 6 inches away. They're 3 inches minimum. I want them 6 inches away all the way around. And if you scale that plan, which you shouldn't, you should look for a call out, right? 6 inches is from the edge of slab to the header / post, because the header falls right along on top of the post. Same thing there, 6 inches this way. And what I'm not showing, and what I am showing here, which is actually the same thing, is it's 6 inches all the way around. So I want 6 inches that side and 6 inches that side of that post. And as far as the footing goes, I want the corners to be 18 inches square by 12 inches deep. So that's that's gonna be dug out, and it's not, it doesn't have to be perfect, you know, but 18 by 18 in the four corners, and then 4 inches, which is essentially we call 4 inches. It's really 3.5 because we're forming with 2x4. So the corners will have the footer, and we may do slightly thickened edges, just with a hole in the dirt, so there's a little more concrete on the outside edges, on these edges of the slab, all the way around. But those footings give me the concrete to put in my column bases. And the column bases, I think I showed you. I think I showed you. I think I showed them to you last week. I might not have, but hit the lights for just a second. Here. CB, column base. Not this one. Not the one on top. I don't want to use the one on top. I don't want to use that one. Why am I even showing it? That's the one I want to use. That one. It's a CB SQ. Why do I want to use that one and not that one? Everybody has both. What's that?
First one is both.
Exactly. Exactly. Good answer, Evan. And so the reason why I want to use this one rather than this one is this one takes through bolts. This one takes SDS screws. And the column bases will come with the requisite amount of SDS screws, which are 14 per 7 inside. They're driven with an impact driver, or really any driver. Any driver, it's a decent driver, you can crank all the way with a clutch or a powered driver, but you can drive those SDS bolts right through those holes and into that 6x6 post. It's fast. You don't have to try to line up and drill a 5.5 inch deep hole exactly level to hit that other hole on the other side. Yes.
So do you just not want to use a through bolt one because the convenience, or is there like certain circumstances?
Totally convenience. Totally convenience, and the SDS screws, 7 SDS screws aside is actually stronger than 3. Now, better grab on the whole thing.
Are they more expensive?
Yes, yeah, slightly. In terms of dollars, I mean, those column bases. Okay, one more time, Luke. If somebody likes, that's right, you lose over here now. Maybe just leave that on and figure out. Get it to come on faster.
So we've got the site all leveled. I guess we just have to mark out where you want us to dig more. for the pump.
We do. Yeah, I'll come out with a spray.
And we can get some sand and we can do that.
Spray cans, and yeah, we'll get some stakes. So
It's
here's
already
our
all
quote.
leveled, ready to go, yeah.
this is a pretty comprehensive quote. I've tried to include everything, but it doesn't include everything because I want to go back and include a bundle of stakes, 18-inch stakes, forming stakes. I'm going to include tie wire, a roll of tie wire, maybe 2 rolls of tie wire. It's dirt cheap. I'm going to get the 2x4 for the forms. I'll add 2x4 forms. They don't have to be like my 2x4s here, 20 DF number 1s and better, dry. They can be number 2s and commons. Don't really care about the forms that much. We're going to get covered with concrete, and then you guys are going to strip the forms and do something with the 2x4s hopefully later. Clean them up, and you'll be able to use them again. I'll get the duplex nails. Who knows what a duplex nail is? Mike Silva.
An extra
what's a
head.
duplex nail? Zach?
It has an extra head.
Yeah. Who said that?
That's Zach.
Zach. Thanks, Zach. It has an extra head. Just like me sometimes when I'm too high. Just kidding. A duplex. So a regular nail has a head, right? And that's the head you strike. A duplex nail has a kind of a head which stops the nail, and then it has about 1/4 inch and then another head. So you drive that head and that stops, and it leaves about that much. Guys at home can't see, but it leaves about 3/8 inch of nail sticking out. And that's so you can come with your hammer or your pry bar and pull them. So you stake forms and nail forms with duplex nails because they can be pulled later easily without having to bang them out. We might screw them together. They can be pulled screw. It's pretty simple form. So, but duplex nails are generally used for forms. Generally, that's all they're used for is forms. So we'll get those in there. I'll get Dobies in there. What's a Dobie?
Keep your
Little piece of concrete. It's going to be 2 inches square, actually 2 inches all the way around, 2 inch cube. It's going to have some wire sticking up. it's going to tie to the rebar and keep the rebar off the ground at 2 inches off the bottom of the pour. So ideally putting it about dead middle of our pour. What else we're gonna have? Concrete finishing tools, we'll bring those, derbies, bull floats. There's a lot to, there's a lot to concrete. A lot to concrete and forming. It's a simple pour, okay? It's just, I just gotta keep that in mind. What else we need? Do you think of anything else? So I think those things I threw out, I'll put them down, make a list. I'll try to think of everything so we can have everything there. And then, like I said, we'll build the form over there. We'll tie the steel. And in terms of tying the steel, okay, so those, I'm going to finish that in a minute, but those CSP cues, they're $44 a piece with the SDSs. Now, they might be $40 without this screws, but I don't know for sure. But they would be a little bit less. And then the column caps are $95 each. What? One? No, that's not right. At 95, it's got one column cap. Yeah, so this is going to go up. This is going to go up. Yeah, that should be 4 column caps. And the column caps for the people here, that will slip over the 6x6 post, the 66, and then the 6x10 will slide in there. The header will slide in there. That will marry the header beam to the post. And that's
If anybody wants to come the day we pour too, you're more than welcome to. It'll be on another Saturday. Either the following week or 2 weeks after we do.
So you see the beam connections? I didn't draw those connections on it, but those posts we'll put on. We'll drop them right down to their bottom. We'll SDS them. We'll plumb them up. We'll get a couple of screws in them. We'll finish screwing them off at the end. But we're going to cut them here. We're going to cut them at. Did I dimension them? I meant to dimension them. Damn it! I think I got this one. I think I put this one at 80 inches. I put 84 and 80. I think is what I did.
For the overhang?
For the height of the posts. So 84 and 80. So you'll have at the front, it'll be 7 foot under the post from the slab, and at the back, it'll be 6 8. So it won't be as high as I should.
Do you have like a website you go to like pick out these model parts and put together a list?
That's a really good question. So I did go to the Simpson site. Simpson has it. Simpson. You guys can't see this on Zoom, sorry, but maybe I'll stop it for a minute to show you. But Simpson has a phenomenal catalog, and it's put out and changed. I mean, they have a bunch of catalogs. They have a main catalog. Anyway, Simpson's got a great catalog, and they have a great online catalog, and they have connectors forever. And so I happen to know that what I wonder is column bases and column caps. And so I just go to their site, up in the search, I put column caps, and it takes me right where I want to go, and there's 2 of them. So yes, I pretty much pick and choose, print them out, right? So I know exactly what I want, circle them, so I can tell my guy, so my quote is accurate, and the stuff that we get is accurate. And so you can see the lines on that quote, right? There's, I don't know, 12, 15 lines, and there's going to be, by the time we're done, it's probably going to be 20 lines, including the 20-foot sticks of rebar. There's going to be 20 lines, and it'll be my job to check those lines, because wouldn't it be a bummer if we got all ready to go for our 4 posts and we got one? Okay, and those column caps are $95 a piece. You gotta be kidding me. So we're gonna get 4 posts, but we're only gonna get 1 column cap. But soon we won't. So see those dotted lines right there, and the dotted lines right there, those are freeze blocks. So there's a blocking that's gonna sit, freeze, F-R-I-E-Z-E, freeze. Those are gonna sit on the top of the header, and they're gonna go between the rafters, rafter to rafter. They're gonna block them, and they're gonna tie them together. So they're not just depending on toenails down into the header, that they're gonna be blocked together. So they're gonna be, it's all gonna be locked in. It'll be locked in with nails, and it'll be locked in with a bird's mouth. And so, can somebody describe a bird's mouth? All right, I'll describe a bird mouth in a minute when I can get to the board. See if there's anything else I want to show you there. Blocking, roofing. What's that? 26 gauge. It's the roofing, blocking. So we abbreviate in construction a lot. And RR always means the same thing. What does it mean? Roof rafter. RR means roof rafter. What does CJ mean? It means floor joists. What does FJ mean? I'm sorry. CJ means ceiling joists. FJ means floor joists. So there's a whole bunch of abbreviations you'll see on plans. And you'll want to get hep to those, because it'll give you information where you're going, what the hell? And headers usually wrote HDR, header, rather than writing out header. Any questions? Questions? Surely there's a question.
When can we start?
When I finish that, Dr.
Yeah.
This week, I will get this list dialed in with everything.
Okay.
And then I'll figure what to split off. I'll probably split it in 2 and make sure the money's approved and all that jazz. And then try to figure out the logistics of getting what to where. I'll figure it out this week.
Do you
And
have,
so next week, we will probably start getting a drop. We'll get a drop.
do you have any time Thursday, Friday, or Saturday to come and stake it out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make some time to do that.
Cool.
We'll do that. We'll do it. We'll get some strings, some stakes, and we'll stick it up.
Sounds like fun.
It's a blast. It really is.
Eat some more guavas.
We'll eat guavas. I'll bring my haiku game and astound everybody, see if I can't make some money. Astound everybody with my prowess. And the thing is, I don't know if I'd ever been able to figure out that game. How you leave 1 in the center. I mean, that's insanely hard to do. I'm just copying something that somebody taught me, happened to be my father, 63 years ago. So what that makes me think of is you have windows. I feel like as a human being, I've had windows in my life where my mind was so fertile that seeds sprouted and grew like overnight, like languages. You know, learning languages when you're young, like habla español. It's so hard now to try to learn another language, whereas when I was young, it was like it just came so easy, and things came easy, and they got cemented like touch typing, right? In junior high school, I had a typing class, and I learned how to type. I learned how to look at a page and type without looking at my hands. And I could still do that. I could do that like forever. I can type anything I want. I don't have to look at a keyboard. I would hate to learn touch typing now, man. It's like that adage of teaching old dogs new tricks. It's tough, man. It's set in the way. So why was I even telling you all that? Oh, about the game. About that game, I remembered the system. I'm just copying my dad's system. I didn't figure a damn thing out. I kind of had to figure out when I got this game. I had to get back into figuring really what that was, how to clear each one. But then when I'm left with all 4 cleared, then I had to do a little figuring out how to the road. So it took me a while this morning to get it down, but I got it down. And I think that life's kind of that way. If you put your mind to something, it's almost limitless what you can do. You're limited by your imagination. I know you hear a lot of that. But you're only limited by what you think you can do. I totally believe it, man. I mean, we do phenomenal things. Think about it. Ever think about just the highways that you guys drive on, that we all drive on? Making a road, starting from a mountain and crossing, a giant creek that flows into the ocean, like up in Big Sur. Road building is about bridge building. Really, you can't have a road without a bridge, which brings in culverts and the force of water, the Venturi effect and arches. And it's just, every time I go over a bridge, I'm like, wow. Somebody dreamed this up, man. Somebody dreamed up how to do it, and they actually pulled it off. Cold Springs Bridge was the highest and longest single arch span in the world when it was built. 53 or something like that, 54. In the whole world, in Cold Springs, that was the longest single span arch. Since then, there are longer ones. No, right here, Cold Springs, Cold Springs Bridge, not Cold Springs Bridge, but when you come down over the pass, you look at Cold Springs Canyon, that's Cold Springs Bridge. Right? That bridge, when you come over 154, heading down to Paradise, that big bridge that they put the stuff because people jump off, that was the longest in the world at the time. Yeah, amazing, huh? Amazing, amazing factoid. So I'll flesh this out a little bit. So you notice, I want to show you a couple things about the drawing. 3/8 of an inch equals a foot. Why did I use that scale?
Fit the whole page.
Because it's the largest scale I could get on that page. So I could put that in quarter, right? Which means I could put it 3/16 and 1/8. But quarter, it's so hard to show details. It's not that easy to show details in 3/8. I would have way preferred 1/2 inch. And had I been using my drafting board, I would have gone 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4. Because the bigger the scale, the biggest scale you can fit on the page is the best, because then you can show the most details. So then really, when you're drawing something 9'6", you can actually make it and count the inches, 9'6", where in quarter scale, you're something, it's somewhere in there and 1/2 foot. It's like, it's in quarter scale, 1/4 of an inch is a foot. So an inch is 12 divisions of a quarter. So it's harder to show stuff in smaller scale. So I just knew that my biggest was 15, and so I tried to get 1/2 on there, and it barely fit. And I thought I'm gonna have to go down to 3/8. So I went down to 3/8. And 3/8 is okay. It shows it. It gives me room. And like I said, I'll flesh this out. I'll get more stuff on there. I'll make sure I got the right stuff on there. I'll make sure I'll get the column caps as well as the CBs, the column bases in there. So I can get this quote revamped, and we can spend even more money, and Mike can have a bigger sticker shock. So
do we need any additional screws or nails or anything?
yeah, we'll need duplex nails. We'll need I'll find out, we probably have nails here for our guns.
Yeah.
For the framing guns. I think we'll need 16s and 8s.
Did Patrick tell you about the new framing gun?
No,
He couldn't figure out how to use it.
did he figure it out?
Yeah, I went over there and showed him that you have to hit the on button.
That's embarrassing. That could have happened to me too.
These are really hard to find on, but.
Yeah, is it?
Just using compressors.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So here's the last thing we're gonna do. We're gonna relax. We're gonna watch this guy's video. It's a good video.
Building in a world that is governed by the International Builders Code and that includes the permitting process, and engineering and plan inspection means that when you're doing these things, you have to comply with the drawings that have been approved by the jurisdiction that has oversight for what you're doing. There are life safety issues, there are policy issues, there are code requirements that exist for really questionable reasons and code requirements that exist for darn good reasons. But at this point, I'm setting up a footing that has to comply with the drawings that my engineer provided, because the county is going to approve those drawings, and then the inspector is going to evaluate the site conditions against what the approved plans say. So the approved plans say that this footing needs to be 48 inches wide. And it is, except in a couple spots, like right here, it's 46 inches wide. Right here, it's 45 inches wide. So we're going to go back along this corner and we're going to break off some of the, where the rock intrudes into the net width.
See those form sticks? So. Those are duplex nails. If you look close enough, you can see the head sticking out. They're using all steel stakes, which are reusable. We will use
Number
those
3
stakes.
bar is 3/8. Number 5 bar is 5/8. Number 10 bar, 8, 10, is 1 1/4 inches. Okay, so that, if you need number 6 bar, it's 3/4 inch. The mat on the bottom of this footing is number 4 bar with 3 longitudinal continuous bars, and the transverse bars at 90 degrees happen at 18 inches on center. Development length is the distance that rebar has to lap in order for the strength of the concrete at the lap to be such that it will hold those bars together as if it were a single bar.
40
Now, I'm
diameters.
counting on some of you engineers in the comments to give me a more concise description of development length. But from the perspective of a carpenter, the development length is the lap on rebar where you can tie it together so that it functions as a single bar.
40
The
bars.
typical bar overlap that is used kind of as a rule of thumb in construction is 40 bar diameters. I'm giving these about 46 bar diameters or 23, 24 inches. It's a little extra. Transverse bars are specified at 18 inches on center. So I'm going to mark my longitudinal bars every 1.5 feet. 1'6", 3 feet.
That is foam. It's a walkie. Oh, no, it's just sound thing. It's Bluetooth sound.
We're going to use two different methods of tying this rebar together, and they both involve tie wire. And the first is using a wire reel. Now this is the tool that you'll see pros using, particularly iron workers. And guys get to where they're so fast with these things. If you don't have one of these, it's really hard. So you start it through there and you tighten it up. You really only need a glove on your left hand if you're a right-handed rod buster, because this is the one that's going to get all greasy from the wire. With this bar in the right spot, you hold it back so you have 3 inches clear. You put it on the layout, you pull it tight, you give it a wrap, you cut it, you twist it. That's tied. That's just a simple overhand tie. Now we're going to show you the other way that we're going to use, that Nate's going to use. Slide it under there, grab the end, grab the other end, tie. One of the things that the engineer has specified and that the inspector will be looking for is the distance from the rebar to the dirt and the distance from the rebar to the face of the concrete. That's because in order for the rebar to contribute its full strength to the structure, it has to be fully encased in enough concrete so that the full compressive strength of the material is contributing to the stability of the overall system.
Which is the tension.
The other reason is because you don't want this rebar rusting inside of your concrete, so you keep it back from any place that water might tend to wick up from the moisture or come back in from cracks and rust the rebar inside the concrete. So clearance. I'm going to accomplish clearance from the soil with these. These are called wired dobies. Little blocks of concrete with wire already on them. We put that underneath the mat, tie it to hold it in place. It holds the rebar up 3 inches from the soil. That's what the engineer specified. We will have dobies of other sizes in other applications, but in this footing is a 3-inch clearance. We're going to use lots of 3-inch wired dobies. So these footings are withstanding at least 2 primary forces. They're withstanding the weight of the wall and the soil that's pushing down on them. And equally important, they're resisting the overturning moment, the tendency for the hillside lot to tip the wall over. So they're cantilevered, they're wide, and they have 2 mats of rebar. They have one down the bottom, which is on the compression side of the footing. That is the side that is just resisting the tendency to be pushed down into the subgrade. And they have one up in the top part of the footing that's helping resist the overturning moment of the wall so that it doesn't just tear out the top of the concrete and go away. The challenge is supporting that top mat, because you can't just drive stakes down into the subgrade and wire the mat to that, because even if it's a piece of rebar, a stake that you've driven in there temporarily, rust will climb up where it's embedded in the soil and it'll rust that vertical piece, and then the rust will crawl out into your mat and it'll degrade your footing from the inside out. So you have to arrange some sort of a method to suspend that, hold it in place while you pour it. You can have stirrups bent. Any sort of a rebar fabrication facility can bend stirrups in fancy shapes. So you can set them on top of the bottom mat and wire them to it, and they'll hold up a point on your top mat and away you go. But something that I have just it just occurred to me as I was wrestling with, man, I don't have time to get those stirrups bent because it's Labor Day weekend, and Nate's going to be here Monday and we got to make this happen. And so I thought, hey, let's just get a hog panel. Now, hog panels are a type of fencing. They're galvanized, they're number 9 wire, they are spot welded at the junctures. They're pretty good, they're stiff. And so we cut the rips the right width to space the bottom and top mat. And I'm bending these things about 1 foot from the end.
Do you think this is a footer for a retaining wall?
Yeah, exactly.
Look at that. I'll just wire that to the bottom mat, and it'll just create a nice little table to lay the top mat on, hold it up, will never degrade. It does not put enough steel in there to create any kind of a weakened plane joint. The footing won't even know that there's that additional wire in there, but it'll hold the top mat in a plane up away from the soil, clearance from the face. Awesome. I'm going to write that down in my little book as one for the good guys.
Garage busters.
This 2x4 is a template for supporting these verts. The bottom of this template is at the grade of the top of the concrete. I hold it with my chin, at figure 8. You see that? Twist it up.
It's a big footing. There must be a big surcharge on that bank. It looks like it is.
We'll take that wood out of this room.
Yeah, that wood will all come out. Is he gonna show it? Is he gonna pour? It's over too. Guy's good though. It's really good. Okay, you have any questions? Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, turn that off. Turn that light off, please. I'm sorry. Turn the light. Turn the light on. Okay. Okay, here we go. We're back. Just about out of here. I mean, we're seconds away from being out of here. Anybody have any questions about tonight? No. You're gonna have a midterm in 2 weeks. Wait, is it next week? This is week 7? I think the midterm might even be next week. Jim will tell you for sure what's happening in the midterm.
How many hundred questions is it gonna
It's
be?
gonna be 10,764 questions. I have no idea.
I think it's in 2 weeks. I don't
2
think-
weeks?
I don't think it's next week.
I think you're right. I think it's in 2 weeks. Mine, yes, I'm sure it will be. Yeah, I'm sure it will be. And here's the thing, I've told you this before, and I'm gonna tell you again. I just can't, I am not a proponent of testing for your rote memory. You know, a lot of this is a lot of stuff to have up here. Now, I believe that if you were here paying attention, it's all in there, and you probably could recall it, but I want you to be able to find answers. Because you're gonna have questions and problems that are gonna come, up, just like me, just like finding the answers to drawings. I had to go find the answer. So yeah, I want you to use the resources available, your books, your notes, find the answers, find the answers to the test. And do whatever Lou is doing to get 100%. In the meantime, see you next week.
Thank you, Rodney.
See you next week, you guys.
Alarm.
No, I'm gonna give it back to you right now. I'm gonna change it right now.